The first punch landed on my left cheekbone like a brick wrapped in silk. I didn't flinch. I never flinched anymore. Victor's fist was already moving again before I could taste the copper in my mouth. And this time it cracked against my temple hard enough to make the penthouse lights blur into halos. He was breathing heavy, eyes wild with that familiar cocktail of rage and something darker. Something he would never name. "You think you're untouchable now?" he snarled, voice low and venomous. "After everything I've given you?" I stayed on my knees, palms flat against the cold marble floor of his Tribeca apartment, tasting blood and the bitter truth that had been rotting inside me for 6 years. Tonight was different. Tonight I wasn't going to let him finish. 6 years ago I was 23, fresh out of the Marines, broke, and stupid enough to believe that taking a job as personal security for Victor Langford, only son of the Langford media empire, would be my ticket out of nothing. The pay was obscene. The benefits included a room in a Manhattan high-rise I could never afford on my own. The catch was the man himself. Victor was beautiful in the way rich people sometimes are. Sharp jaw, dark hair that always looked artfully messy, green eyes that could freeze you or burn you depending on his mood. He was 25 then, already running half the family's digital division, and everyone in the city knew he was untouchable. Everyone except me, apparently. The first time he hit me was 3 months in. We'd come back from a late-night meeting with investors who'd laughed at one of his pitches. He'd been silent the whole elevator ride up. When the doors opened, he turned, grabbed my tie, and slammed me against the wall. "You were supposed to make them respect me," he hissed. Then his open palm cracked across my face. I stood there, stunned, waiting for the apology that never came. Instead, he kissed me, hard, desperate, like he hated me and needed me in the same breath. I let him. I told myself it was shock. I told myself it was the job. But the truth was simpler and uglier. I wanted him too. That kiss turned into nights. Nights turned into years. And the hits kept coming. Whenever he felt small, whenever the board questioned him, whenever his father looked through him like he was still the disappointing teenager who'd been caught with the pool boy at 16. I became the punching bag and the secret lover. The lines blurred until I couldn't tell where one ended and the other began. Tonight, though, something had snapped. He'd just come from another dinner with his father. The old man had announced, in front of half the New York elite, that he was considering handing the company to Victor's cousin instead. "You're not ready," Reginald Langford had said, loud enough for the room to hear. Victor had smiled through it, charm on full blast. But the second we were alone in the car, he started shaking. By the time we reached the apartment, he was a live wire. He hit me once, twice, 3 times. I took it. Then he grabbed my collar, yanked me close, and whispered, "You're the only thing that's mine. You don't get to leave." That was the moment. I looked into those green eyes. Eyes I'd memorized. Eyes I'd kissed. Eyes that had cried against my shoulder at 3 in the morning. And I saw the scared boy underneath the monster. But I also saw the monster. I stood up slowly. Victor blinked, confused. He'd never had to look up at me before. Not like this. "Alex," he said, voice cracking just a little. "Sit down."
"No."
He laughed short and sharp. "You don't say no to me." I just did. For the first time in 6 years, I saw fear flicker across his face. Real fear. Not the performative kind he used in boardrooms. The kind that lives in your chest when you realize the person you've been hurting might finally hurt you back. I stepped forward. He stepped back. "Don't," he warned. I kept walking. He swung again, wild, sloppy. I caught his wrist midair, twisted it just enough to make him gasp, then shoved him against the wall. Not hard enough to bruise, just hard enough to make him feel it. "You don't own me," I said, voice steady for the first time in years. "Not anymore." He stared at me, chest heaving, eyes wide. For a second I thought he might cry. Then he laughed again, hollow, broken. "You're going to regret this," he whispered. I let go of his wrist. "Maybe, but I'm done paying for your daddy issues." I turned and walked toward the door. Behind me, I heard him slide down the wall, knees hitting marble. "Alex," he called, voice small now. "Please." I didn't stop. The elevator doors closed on his face. Beautiful, broken, terrified. And for the first time in 6 years, I breathed. The city looked different from street level. I walked out of the building into cold January air. Collar turned up, hands shoved deep in my coat pockets. No black SUV waiting. No driver. Just me and the streetlights and the sudden, terrifying freedom of having nowhere to go. My phone buzzed the second I hit the sidewalk. Victor. I let it ring. It buzzed again. Then a text. Where are you going? I deleted it. Another one. You can't just leave. I blocked the number. I kept walking until I reached the subway. Took the one train downtown because it felt like the opposite direction of everything I'd known for 6 years. The car was half empty. Late-night stragglers, a couple of drunk college kids, an old man asleep against the window. I sat in the corner, head back, eyes closed, trying to remember who I'd been before Victor. The answer was blurry. A kid from Ohio who'd enlisted at 18 because college wasn't an option. 4 years in the Corps. 2 combat tours. Came home with medals I never wore and nightmares I never talked about. Then the job offer from a private security firm that specialized in high-net-worth individuals. They'd sold it like a promotion. I'd bought it. I got off at Christopher Street, West Village, queer heart of the city. I hadn't been here in years, not since before Victor. Back then I'd come down on weekends, trying to figure out what I was. I'd kissed boys in dark bars, told myself it didn't mean anything, went back to base and pretended I was straight. Now I walked into the same neighborhood with bruises on my face and a heart full of questions I'd never answered. I found a bar called the Stonewall Inn. Historic. Touristy now, but still real. I ordered a whiskey, neat. The bartender, a guy in his 40s with kind eyes, looked at my face and didn't ask questions, just poured. "You okay, man?" he said quietly. I gave a half smile. "Working on it." I sat there for hours. People came and went. A drag queen in full makeup hugged a crying twink at the bar. 2 older guys held hands like it was the most natural thing in the world. I watched them and felt something crack open inside me. Something that had been locked down so long I'd forgotten it existed. Around 2 a.m. my phone buzzed again. Different number. Unknown. I answered. "Alex." Victor's voice was raw. "Come home." "I don't have a home," I said. "You do. With me." I laughed short, bitter. "You call that a home?" Silence. Then, quieter. "I need you. You need someone to hit when you're scared. That's not the same thing." "I'll stop," he said quickly. "I swear. I'll get help. Therapy. Whatever you want." I closed my eyes. Part of me wanted to believe him. The part that still remembered the nights he'd curled against my chest and whispered apologies into my skin. The part that still loved him. But the bigger part, the part that had taken 6 years of punches, knew better. "You already had 6 years to stop," I said. "You didn't." I was scared. So was I. Another long silence. "Where are you?" he asked finally. "Somewhere safe." I hung up. The bartender slid another whiskey my way. "On the house," he said. "You look like you need it." I nodded thanks and drank. By 4 a.m., I was walking again. Found a cheap hotel in Chelsea. Paid cash. Lay on the bed staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of the last 6 years. The good ones hurt worse than the bad ones. Because the good ones had been real. Victor had cried in my arms after his mother died. Held me when I woke up screaming from nightmares about Fallujah. Kissed me like I was the only thing keeping him alive. But he'd also marked me, bruised me, made me feel small so he could feel big. I didn't sleep. Morning came gray and cold. I checked my phone. 23 missed calls. All from different numbers. He was cycling through burners. I turned it off. Then I did something I hadn't done in years. I went home. Not to Tribeca. To Ohio. I bought a bus ticket with the last of the cash I'd stashed in a safe deposit box years ago. Emergency money I'd never touched because Victor had always been the emergency. Greyhound. 20 hours. I slept most of the way, head against the window, dreaming of fists and green eyes. When I stepped off in Columbus, snow was falling. My mom's house looked smaller than I remembered. She opened the door, saw my face, and started crying before I could speak. "Baby," she whispered, pulling me inside. "What happened to you?" I didn't answer, just let her hold me like I was 16 again. That night, lying in my childhood bed, I finally cried. Not for Victor. For me. 3 weeks later, I was still in Ohio, still trying to remember how to be a person. My mom didn't push. She cooked. She left plates of food outside my door when I didn't come down. She sat with me on the porch while I smoked cigarettes I hadn't touched since the Marines. One night she asked, "Was it a woman?" I shook my head. "A man?" I nodded. She reached over, squeezed my hand. "Okay." That was all she said. I started running again. 5 miles every morning, snow or no snow. The cold burned my lungs, but it was a clean burn. I let it hurt. My phone stayed off. I'd bought a cheap burner, gave the number only to Mom. No one else. But Victor was Victor. He found me anyway. It was a Thursday. I was coming back from my run, breath fogging the air, when I saw the black Range Rover parked across the street from Mom's house. Tinted windows, engine running. I froze. The driver's door opened. Not Victor. His head of security, Malcolm. 50-something ex-NYPD, built like a linebacker. He'd always liked me, or at least tolerated me. "Alex," he said, voice low. "Boss wants to talk. Tell him I'm retired." Malcolm glanced at the house, then back at me. "He's not doing good, man. Hasn't slept in days. Won't eat. Locked himself in the office. Keeps saying your name." I felt the old pull, the instinct to fix him, to run back and make it better. I crushed it. "Not my problem anymore." Malcolm sighed. "He's talking about coming here himself. Let him. He won't come alone." I met Malcolm's eyes. "Then we'll have a problem." He studied me for a long moment, then nodded once. "Fair enough." The Rover pulled away. I went inside, locked the door, and sat on the couch with my head in my hands. 2 days later, Victor showed up. I was in the backyard splitting wood when I heard tires on gravel. Looked up. Same black Range Rover. This time Victor got out. He looked like hell. Hair unwashed. Eyes sunken. Wearing the same coat he'd had on the night I left. He stood there in the snow, hands in pockets, staring at me like I was a ghost. I set the axe down. He took a step forward. Stopped. "I'm not here to fight," he said. "Good. Because I will." He nodded like he expected that. "Can we talk?" I glanced at the house. Mom was at work. Just us. I jerked my head toward the porch. "Sit." He did. We sat in silence for a long time. Snow fell between us. Finally he spoke. "I went to therapy." I raised an eyebrow. "Twice. I hated it. But I went." I didn't respond. "I told the therapist everything," he said. "About you. About what I did. And he said I'm an abuser." I laughed cold. "Took a professional to figure that out?" Victor flinched. "I know what I am, Alex. I've always known. I just couldn't stop." "That's not an excuse." "I'm not asking for one." He looked at me then, really looked. "I'm asking for a chance to make it right." "There is no making it right." "I know. So why are you here?" "Because I love you," he said simply. "And I hate myself for what I did to you." The words hung in the air like smoke. I stood up. "You don't get to say that now." "I know." I walked to the edge of the porch, back to him. "You broke me, Victor. For years. You made me think I deserved it." "I know." I turned. "Then why the fuck should I believe you've changed?" He stood too. Slow. Careful. "Because I'm here. In Ohio. In the snow. Without security. Without a plan. Just me." I studied him. He looked smaller somehow. Not the untouchable heir. Just a man. "I can't forgive you," I said. "I'm not asking you to." "Then what are you asking?" He took a breath. "I'm asking you to let me go. Really go. No more chasing. No more calls. If you want me gone, I'll go." I stared at him. But if there's even a chance, he continued, voice breaking, that you still feel something, I'll wait. As long as it takes. I'll do the work. I'll prove it. I felt my throat close. He stepped closer. Not touching. Just close enough that I could smell his cologne. The same one he'd worn every day for 6 years. I'm sorry, Alex, he whispered. For all of it. Then he turned and walked back to the car. I watched him drive away. That night I dreamed of him. Not the fists. The quiet moments. The way he'd smile when no one else was looking. The way he'd whisper my name like a prayer. I woke up crying. Spring came slow to Ohio. I stayed. I got a job at a local gym training kids, teaching self-defense. Nothing fancy, just honest work. My hands stopped shaking. My nightmares faded to background noise. I started dating. His name was Ryan. 31. High school history teacher. Quiet. Kind. Laughed at my terrible jokes. Kissed me like it was a privilege. It was nice. It wasn't Victor. I hated myself for comparing. One night Ryan asked about the scars on my knuckles. I told him I used to box. He didn't push. Another night he asked why I never talked about New York. I said, bad memories. He nodded. You don't have to tell me. But I wanted to. Eventually, I started writing letters. Not to send. Just to get it out. Dear Victor, I hate you. Dear Victor, I miss you. Dear Victor, I don't know what I feel anymore. I burned them all. Then one morning in May, a package arrived. No return address. Just my name in his handwriting. Inside, a single photo. 6 years ago. First month on the job. I'm in a suit standing behind him at some gala. He's laughing at something I said. My hand is on his shoulder, protective. Possessive. On the back, one line. I kept this on my desk the whole time. Even after you left. I stared at it for hours. That night, I called the only number I still had memorized. He answered on the first ring. Alex. His voice cracked. I swallowed. I got the photo. Silence. I'm not coming back, I said. I know. But I needed to hear your voice. Another silence. I'm proud of you, he said quietly. For leaving. I closed my eyes. I'm proud of you for trying. We didn't speak for a long time. Then he said, I'm moving to San Francisco. New division. New start. Good. I'm not asking you to come. I know. But if you ever want to talk, I'll answer. I nodded even though he couldn't see. Take care of yourself, Victor. You too, Alex. I hung up. 2 months later, I proposed to Ryan. He said yes. We got married in October. Small ceremony. Mom cried. Ryan's parents cried. I smiled the whole time. But when we danced our first dance, I looked over Ryan's shoulder and saw a man standing at the back of the room. Victor. He wasn't smiling. Just watching. Eyes wet. When the song ended, he slipped out. I didn't follow. That night, in bed with my husband, I cried again. Ryan held me. Didn't ask why. He just held me. Years passed. Ryan and I moved to Denver. Bought a house. Adopted a dog. Life became ordinary in the best way. I still thought about Victor sometimes. Not every day. Not even every month. But sometimes. I heard things through the grapevine. He'd taken over the company after all. Turned it around. Became the youngest CEO in media history. There were profiles in magazines. Photos of him at galas, alone. He never married. Never dated publicly. I wondered if he was still going to therapy. If he still hated himself. If he still loved me. I didn't reach out. Then one winter, 5 years after the wedding, I got a call. Unknown number. I answered. Alex. His voice was older. Calmer. Victor. I'm dying. The words landed like a slap. Cancer, he said. Pancreatic. Late stage. Couldn't breathe. I didn't want to tell you, he continued. But I needed you to know. I sat down hard on the kitchen floor. Where are you? Hospice in San Francisco. I looked at the clock. Ryan was at work. The dog was asleep by the heater. I'm coming, I said. You don't have to. I know. I booked the first flight out. When I walked into his room, he was thin, fragile, but still beautiful. He smiled when he saw me. You came. I sat beside the bed, took his hand. We talked for hours. About everything. About nothing. He told me he'd never stopped loving me. I told him I'd never stopped hurting. But I also told him I'd forgiven him. Not because he deserved it. Because I deserved peace. He cried. I cried. When the nurse came in to adjust his morphine, he looked at me and said, I'm sorry. I know. He died 3 days later. I flew home. Ryan met me at the airport, held me while I broke apart. Months later, I found a letter in the mail, from Victor's lawyer. Inside, a single sentence. I loved you enough to let you go. And one more thing. The photo. The same one from years ago. I keep it on my desk now. Sometimes I look at it and smile. Sometimes I cry. But mostly I live. And every once in a while, when the light hits just right, I wonder, was it love? Or was it only ever pain? You decide.